Hello everyone, I am MeBurningSlime and welcome to this Python tutorial series. My goal is to make a concise tutorial that will teach a total beginner of any age how to program in Python. Now I will be recording this on Windows for the most part, but I will show you how to set this up for Linux as well. Check the timestamps on this video for more information. Without further ado, let's get started. Now obviously the first thing we need to do is to download Python. So make sure to go to python.org, not any other website because there are fakes, and then go to downloads and download Python. Once it's downloaded, you should be able to open it by clicking this, and it will open in this window. Now I have already installed Python obviously, so I do not need to download it again, but once you're here there should be an install button. Simply click that, allow Python to be installed, and then you're good. If you can't find this file, then go ahead and open up your file explorer and go to your downloads. In your downloads, you should be able to find this easily. Alright, now we have Python installed. Now we need to set it up, which should be super quick. The first thing we're going to do is go to Python 3.13, see this? And we are opening this, and it looks like it's running just fine. Now we're going to go to the idle. So I'm going to search IDLE. This is our text editor. This is what's going to let us make code. So let's open this. And we have our text editor. Now, you will probably notice that mine is darker than yours. Yours will be light mode by default. If you want to change that, you just need to go to Options, then Configure Idle, and then go to Highlights. And from here, you can select anything you want, and say, I want to change the background color here, and I will choose a dark color. There you go. Ta-da! That's all you need to do to change the colors. Okay, this is awesome. Now let's start making some files. So we're going to create a new folder, so I'm going to right-click and create a new folder. And I will name this Python tutorial. You can name it whatever you want. And once we open it, we're going to have to create a file in here. But first we need to check something. If you're on Linux, you don't have to worry about this. Linux doesn't have this disabled by default. But for Windows users, make sure that file name extensions is on. This will allow us to change the file from a normal text file to a Python script. So we're going to right click, we're going to create a new text document. And do you see how there's a .txt at the end of it? That means that this is a text file. We're going to have to change that to .py. So I'm going to name the file firstproject.py. This tells the computer that we want it to be a Python file. See that? See how it's a Python file now? Now, alternatively, you can create a new file and pick the Python file type. Okay, now we have our Python file. So we're going to right-click, and we're going to edit with idle. See that? Now we have the idle running, and this is now our code. But if you can't open it like that, no worries. You can search idle, grab your idle, click File, click Open, and now we will simply grab our file. So I made mine on the desktop, so I am going to go to Python tutorial, and there's our file, and we'll open it. And now we're editing our file, see that? Either way works. Alright, this section of the video will show you how to set up Python for Linux. Many Linux distributions will have Python pre-installed, so go ahead and check if you already have it by running python 3--- version. If you don't already have it, run sudo apt-get install python 3. A quick note, Python does not work, you have to write python 3. Okay, we have Python on Linux now, but to set up our workspace we need to run a few more commands. First, go ahead and cd to where you want to put your Python files. Then run makedir to create a folder, and name it whatever you want. cd into that, then use touch to create a new file. You have two ways of editing the file. From the terminal by running nano file name, or by going to the file in your file explorer and opening it up manually. To run your file, you use the terminal and run python 3, then your file name. Alright, if you are able to access all of your files properly, then you are good to follow along with the Windows tutorial. Now in Python, we have a couple of different statements. Basically, we're going to write a sentence that's not in English, but rather in Python. Think of it like learning Spanish or something. But this language is very close to English, so it's very easy to learn. So the first thing we're going to do is type in the word print. Print is going to tell the computer, hey, we want to show this text on screen. So we're going to do parentheses, and anything in these parentheses is going to show up on the screen. So I'm going to put 2 quotation marks, and in these quotation marks, I'm going to write our message. So I will say, hello world. Now we have our first code. Let's try to run it. So I'm going to click the button F5, and it was going to ask us if we want to save. You can click OK or click Enter. And now it runs the code. And look, it says hello world. Ta-da! We have our first coding project done. It's that easy. So, in coding, just like reading a book, code will generally run from the top to the bottom. So, if I send another message below it saying, this message occurs second. Now, when I click F5 and run the code, it will say hello world, and then after it says hello world, it will say this message occurs second. So keep that in mind, because in almost all coding scenarios, you'll be reading the code from top to bottom. Okay, we made some simple text print on the screen, but now let's get a little more complicated. Let's make a variable. Think of a variable like an address, like a home address or something. If I say, my home address is 1 North Street, then you know to get to me, you gotta go to 1 North Street. So, let's name a variable. I will name my variable variable1, and we're gonna put something at that address, inside of that home. And we're gonna say, what's inside of that home are the words, hello world. Now, if we say, hey, let's print something, but instead of putting what we want to print in here exactly, we're gonna say, hey, go grab the information from that address and print that. So we're going to write variable1. And make sure these 2 variable names are the exact same. See this? Variable1 is not the same thing as capital V variable1. Those are completely different addresses. Okay, now I will click F5, hit enter, and we run it, and it says hello world. Look at that. And what's even cooler is while the code is running, we can change the variable. So, let's take a look at this. We are going to set the variable to hello world. And then we are going to print that variable. And now let's say, hey, that was great, variable1 worked, but let's change variable1. Now I'm going to say variable1 equals, and I will say, I am now French. And now if we print it, because remember it reads from top to bottom, so after we change the variable to I am now French, we can now print variable1 again, and watch what happens. It now says, hello world, and then I am now French. So if we look at this, it will grab variable1 and set it to hello world. It will then print hello world. See this? Right here, it prints hello world. After it prints hello world, it will then change variable1 to I am now French, and then print that. That should be pretty simple. It's very, very effective though. This is the premise of most coding. Okay, we printed a whole bunch of words, but what if we want to do math? Because math sucks and I don't want to do my math. Instead, I want to make the computer do my math. Well, let's say it's variable1. I'm going to name it var1 so that way it's shorter, but you can name it whatever you want. I had one of my students name it Sigma Boy. I will not, but you can if you want to. Now we have our variable var1, and I will say this is equal to 2. And if you notice, I didn't have to put the quotation marks around it, because it recognizes numbers. If I wrote potato like this, it would have no clue what to do with that, because potato is not a word in its vocabulary. But if we put this, then it doesn't try to read it as code. It'll just say, oh, I guess potato is something in English, that language I don't know, so I'll just keep it as potato and not do anything with it. But currently we're setting a number, and computers love numbers. They understand it, so we don't have to do any quotation marks on these. Not for now, at least. Now, let's do print var1. And when we hit F5 and run it, it will print 2. Okay, pretty simple. That's pretty easy. But let's say that we want to do some math, some real math. We're gonna do 2 plus 2. Now you don't have to write anything special on this. The computer just understands the math. Python is great for this. So see, 2 plus 2 equals 4, and it simply printed 4. Very simple, very easy. Now, real quickly, I will go over the symbols that you need to do for math. Just so you know, this is pretty much universal throughout all coding languages, so it's very essential that you understand this, is that if you want to add 2 numbers, it's the plus sign. If you want to subtract 2 numbers, it's the minus sign. If you want to multiply 2 numbers, then it's Shift 8 on your keyboard. And if you want to divide 2 numbers, then you click the / button, which should be on the bottom right of your keyboard next to the Shift button. Okay, but enough of that math stuff. Let's get back to some cool things we can do with it. The first thing I want to show you is input. Input will let us type something into the console as the computer is running. So let's say, hello world. And now when we run the code, it will say, hello world, and watch, I can type something back. Hello computer. And it works. But that doesn't do anything. That's not very fun. Now we're going to use this input to make the computer repeat something that we say. So let's make a variable. I'm going to name it var1 equals input. See this? We're not setting the variable ourselves. We're letting the user set the variable. And in here we will say, what is your favorite word? And then we're going to print, and we are going to combine 2 statements. So watch this. I'm going to say, your favorite word is, and then we are going to do a comma, and then we are going to add var1. Okay, so we are setting the variable to whatever the user says, and then after that we are going to print your favorite word is, and then we're going to print what we set that variable to. So watch, when we click F5, it says, what is your favorite word? My favorite word is flummoxed. And now the computer says, your favorite word is, and then it says flummoxed. Ta-da! We just finished our first program. Now, Python gets way more complicated than this, but you already understand a lot of the basics. We're going to go over the rest of the basics in the next one, where we make a password guessing game, and we make a calculator. But for now, this is it with the introduction, and I hope you learned a lot. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I will see you guys next time.